guest speaker this evening, Mr. James Scott. Um, Jim, as I call him, is a longtime friend, and when I think about the topic of college and career success, I couldn't think of anyone else than this gentleman who would be fantastic and phenomenal for you all to hear speak. And so I was thrilled that he agreed to join us this evening for the Expanding College Opportunities Speaker Series. And just so you know, I appreciate all the questions that you sent in. I have incorporated those questions into a list. I will kind of go down that list because I want to make sure that I'm covering many of the issues and questions and thoughts that you have. This evening's webinar, I'd like to make them all informal and really treat them as a fireside chat, so to speak. And so with that said, I will stop and really turn the mic over to our guest speaker, Mr. James H. Scott, who again, I call Jim, along with friend. And I will ask, Jim, I want to welcome you to the presentation this evening. And I would like to start off by simply asking you to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Stan. Again, I am Jim Scott. I told Stan before we started tonight that my voice was going hoarse. I have not been to a football game in the last week or so, or a basketball game or soccer, but somehow my voice is thinner than it normally is. So just bear with me as we go through our session tonight. I am a married father of four college graduate adults, 2 boys, 2 girls. We've been married for 54 years, my wonderful wife and partner, and our anniversary for that 54th year is this Thursday. So this is a celebration for me, as well as an event for you. Currently, I am an independent director for 2 very well-known nonprofits. I won't bother you with their names. I'm an active nonfiction book reviewer for 2 platforms, one local and one national. The national platform is the National Book Critics Circle Critical Notes, of which I'm a member and have been a member for quite a number of years. My career started out as I was an engineer, and over my 40 years of work, it expanded in several different directions, and mostly a function of the graduate work that I did in finance and the education opportunities that came my way as I matured. I'm a retired corporate executive, an international corporate banker, and an institutional investment strategist. I'm a retired corporate director for 2 Fortune 500 companies, 3 mutual fund complexes, and several major colleges and universities. My educational background and familiarity with schools and higher educational issues includes my undergraduate work as an electrical engineer. I received a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering and a Master of Arts, both from Villanova University in Pennsylvania, and an MBA at Washington University in St. Louis. I've served on the boards of a private K through 12 school, a major college, and an advisory board member of a major public university. I'll mention the name of that university, UT, University of Texas at Austin. And I pray for all of you to root for them as they face a very difficult year. I served on the United States Secretary of Education Advisory Board. I've served on what I consider a very prestigious panel for Dartmouth College's reaccreditation review. And I've actively participated in selection of schools and colleges for all 4 of our children, private schools, private universities and colleges, and public universities, both undergraduate and graduate. My fondest memories of college, and there aren't really that many, because if you major in electrical engineering, you don't consider the road you traveled as being terribly fond. It's tough, and but nonetheless, I survived it. But my fondest experience was just being the first Black Villanova engineer in the then 120 years of its existence. It's now, that was quite a while ago when I graduated, but it's kind of funny being in an environment where when I showed up as a freshman, there are obviously no Blacks in my class, and none in the entire engineering school. And for the entire length of my stay at the school until graduation, I was the only Black in the engineering program. And it's not a small program, it's a rather large one. I don't have the numbers for you, but that happens to be a fond memory, that I was actually able to get through that. Easier to talk about other experiences in my career. I've got a couple of them that I would like to share with you. The first, I was a member of the first group of Peace Corps volunteers in Guyana, South America, where I met and married my wife. The second is being selected in a nationwide competition for White House fellowships, and I received the White House fellowship serving in Jimmy Carter's White House. Quite an honor, quite a thrill. And the third was being selected several years ago by a national magazine as one of the most influential Black corporate directors in America. Also something that I'm extremely proud of, and I think of it as sort of a capstone to what I consider to be a relatively long and successful career. As Stan mentioned, we are longtime friends. He was, when I was the treasurer and chief financial officer of Amherst College, he was a freshman, and he was one of my student interns. And that position, by the way, internship at the treasurer's office, was something I founded as the CFO. And my thought was, look, we've got some of the smartest kids in the world in the student body, and I've got none of them in my office. So I drafted a few over the years, and Stan was one of them. And I said, hey, they're the smartest in the world, put them to work. Well, now that treasurer's intern slot is endowed by a very generous Amherst alum. And so the kids that come through there and who are interns get paid. I'm sorry, Stan didn't get a dime.
Wait a minute.
But anyway, he was the initial participant in the program that has survived for years and years, and is probably one of the finest internships in the colleges in the country. So that's my intro, and I hope that the next few minutes that we have together will be responsive to questions that you may ask. Stan.
Well, that I learned something new every time I talk with you, Jim, and I certainly you've highlighted some new things, particularly your being the first Black engineering student at. I didn't realize that, and I'm sure that was really. We could probably spend the next hour just talking about that. But anyway, thank you for that introduction. Your career is long and extensive, and I sort of want to use that as a springboard to my next question, which is, how do you define college and career success? Which, of course, is the title of this evening's webinar.
Well, college success, we'll break it into college success. I feel is learning what you hoped you would learn when you went to college, achieving those learning and knowledge points that were voids when you went there and were not voids when you graduated. So basically, having learned what you hope to have learned, and then having that realized by getting a good first job, one that would allow you to live independently, because that is something that we really do need to do when we reach that age of 21 or 22. We should be independent, and so you should have been able to do that based on your college experience, your degree. And that first job should, in fact, allow you to use the skills that you've learned and to support growth in your career. It's not a good thing that if that first job is a dead end job, you want it to be something that has a future built into it, or at least within reach after your first couple of years. That's what I would say is college success. Someone might define it differently, but that's mine. It's very simple, but I think it is achievable. And career success is a little different. You have to be happy with what you're doing in your career. You don't necessarily have to be happy when you're in school. You really don't. I mean, and I'm a living example of that. And I think a lot of students are not happy. But in your job, in your career, you're working that thing, you're thinking about it, and it's really tied into the future track that you wish to have. And so you want to be happy at what you're doing, and you want to be making enough to make enough money to support your family in a way that that does credit to all the work that you've done, and it should be reasonably generous enough so that you can start saving some money, thinking about the road that you're trying to send your kids down later on. So it's really two different things: college success and career success.
Jim, can you? I'm intrigued by your comment when you say that a student might be quote unquote happy in their career, but not necessarily happy while they're in college. A lot of times you hear people say, "Oh, Johnny or Susie or Bob or Stan should, we want them to be happy in college." So can you please expound on that? I'm a little bit.
Well, I don't see why being happy in college makes a darn bit of difference to anything. This is a period where you're grinding, you're being exposed to so many things you don't know. You've got to work hard at trying to pound it into your head and overcome these hurdles that exist in the material that you're trying to crack. And I don't think happiness has a heck of a lot to do with it. And it's temporary. It should be, it's either going to be 2 or 4 years, whatever kind of program you pick. That's not a big chunk of your life. In fact, it's a sliver of your life. So happiness in that context, I don't care if you're happy or not. Now, that's one of the problems that college administrations have unfortunately tripped all over. When I did my panelist as volunteer and selection, when I was on the Secretary of Education panel, our panel title was on productivity in higher education. And there are only a half dozen of us that worked on this thing for several months. And it was a very easy conclusion that tremendous amounts of money in colleges and universities are poured into making young people happy. And you dump that on top of facilities expenses and reasonably generous pay to professors who have studied a long time in order to teach you, to put on top of that stuff to make the student happy was one of the detriments of the direction of higher ed that we found. And that's still prevalent. And there's the competition among the schools to see how happy they can make you is, I think, deleterious to the objective of teaching you what you need to get out there in the world and start producing. So happy isn't a part of my quotient. It would be a part of a lot of others. Certainly, most of the people now that are running the universities and colleges around the country, probably even around the world, are focused on making young people happy. But yeah, I don't think it's essential. In fact, I can remember back at Villanova, which is not a poor school, with plenty of resources, but we had one television. The thing was maybe 12 by 15. It sat in a place we call the pie shop, which is where you could go and get some decent desserts after the dreadful dinners that you served. And I had one TV, and it sat up in the corner, and then there were chairs around, and it went back, way back. And if you were sitting 100 feet back, you could hardly see anything on the TV. But you're there watching TV. But that was the only television on campus. Now that was not 100 years ago. I can tell you exactly when it was, but I don't want to date me that definitively. But we weren't happy. We weren't happy at all. But we were more comfortable doing that for 15, 20 minutes than being back in the dorm or in the library studying our heads off. It served the purpose. It gave us a little break. But I think that there's a lot more resources now on a relative basis that are poured into making people happy. And I think that's a waste of money. I'm sorry.
Understood. No, that's, appreciate the clarification. Let me sort of shift gears a bit, and ask you my question related to students, like I guess when they're in high school and they're getting ready, well, not even just high school, middle school, high school, preparing for college. So the question is, what do you consider to be the 3 most important skills that students should have when entering college?
Hmm. I'll give you 3. I might actually give you maybe 4. But the first one, the first one is that you should have corrected in high school the inadequacies that you invariably had in middle school. Now, that's not a slam on middle school. It's a recognition of a fact. The National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is done every couple of years. I think it's every 3 years. I'm not sure how often it is, but for the longest time now, it has bemoaned the horrific preparation in middle school of the students in American or U.S. history and in civics. And when I say horrific statistics, 15%, only 15% of 8th graders have what is considered proficiency, proficient knowledge in American history. 15%, 1 out of 8, or 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8.
Incredible.
And in civics, 1 out of 4. So what I think at high school, while you're thinking high school and preparation for college, if you really want to make that college experience fruitful and take advantage of all the wonderful resources that your average college has for teaching you that appropriate subject matter, then you've got to have a high school experience that is rich in that stuff to develop those thinking skills. So the first skill, I guess, that I want to bring up is that you will have conquered that and grasped that in high school. Second, and probably as important, maybe more important, is that you have good study skills. That's kind of embedded in you. Studying is something that should be a part of your life, and you should know how to do it. And it's not like falling out of bed. It's hard. So you have to develop good study skills. The third thing is that you would have really cracked the membrane on your communications ability. You need to have developed a semblance, at least, of solid communication skills, oral and written, and that regardless of what you're going to study, you need to have developed that in high school. It'll be sharpened and improved as you get older, but it really should be part of your package. That should be part of your package that you deliver to your college professors. And I guess I'm talking, that's 3. That's 4. The 4th, I'd say, is, and now it's probably more important than ever, is your analytical abilities. Not necessarily knowing how to do calculus or something like that. I'm talking about how to attack and overcome problems. How do you analyze situations and be able to discern what are the important things and what are the unimportant things. Your ability to analyze. That should be worked on in high school, and that's a skill you really should have when you get to college, because they're going to assume that you really do know some of that already. So in entering college, I say it's, fixing that void that you developed in middle school, which is an educational void. Second, have good study skills. Third, have good communications skills, or at least a semblance, a morsel, a kernel of the skill base that you'll need down the road. And then fourth, you've got to be able to analyze situations, to be able to attack it, break it down into its ingredients so that you can solve whatever it is you're being asked to solve.
Jim, how do you define study skills?
Well, I would say, that it's funny because there's a generational problem here. It used to be, when I was going to school and in the early days of my kids going to school, you got homework, and doing the homework would inculcate in you the skill in studying. That's what the homework was designed to do, to make you, even teaching yourself on studying. What is this asking me? Oh, I've got to go back to this. In other words, giving you the rhythm of learning and doing it on your own. But now I know in a lot of situations, I hear it now with grandkids and their friends and their parents, that they don't have homework. Homework is punishment. Homework is unnecessary. And I don't get it, but fortunately I don't have to deal with it because all my kids are gone. It's not a big problem for me. But
Right.
but I don't know how you get the study skills if you don't have to sit at a table in your room and do this work that's designed to make you look things up, and I don't know how you survive, but I don't know how you develop those study skills. But I think that's what you need when you find yourself at a college, and that work starts coming down on you, where you have to work 4, 5, 6 hours after school just to get the work done that the professors made you do.
Mm-hmm.
So does that sort of get to it, Stan?
It does. It does. And thank you for that. Your comments. This is somewhat tied to that, but I'm thinking about what you just said, and I'm thinking about those parents that are listening in this evening, and they might be saying, okay, so what can I do then? You've identified. You said communication skills are important, study skills are important, analytical skills are important. And I missed my notes. There was a fourth one there, but nonetheless,
Well,
what can parents do to better support both their middle school and high school student to achieve or to develop the things that you just outlined?
I think that's where parents really have to come into play. I think that parents have to understand uh, and discuss their child's curriculum. They have to understand what's in it and its content. And if in their minds there are shortcomings, they need to have a role in helping the child fill in where the shortcomings may be. But so they need to know what the kid's studying, what the kid's supposed to study, what the learnings are supposed to be. It's not that they should control it, but they should know it so that they can have a dialogue with their child about their work. And it's just a dialogue. And it doesn't have to be, you know, a whip beating anybody over the back. It's an understanding now. Okay, you're supposed to study this. What did you learn? And you can have that discussion during the advertisements in the television program that you might be watching together or over dinner or whatever. So one, they should familiarize themselves with the curriculum of the students, and knowing that, and along with the grades that they see that their child's getting, deal with the shortcomings that perhaps the students are developing. But beyond that, I think the student needs to have space. The parent needs to provide the student with a working space, a table in the corner. It should be something. Now, I know growing up, when I grew up, we had smaller places. There wasn't a lot. I had brothers. There's a lot going on. But even there, I had my little table, and it might have been in other people's way, but that was mine. It's mine. That's your study place. Well, that's what you had, and that's yours. And that is the parent paying respect, giving respect to the student's task. And then, making sure that the kid's there for a while, doing work, doing homework, and not just doing crosswords, but, doing work. They should also be encouraging. There's another dimension here that needs to be developed, and that's the human socialization dimension. The child should have extracurricular activities, not more than they can handle, but they need some. And some of those extracurricular activities should provide that child with a glimpse of what leadership is about. It doesn't mean that the kid has to be, the president of the No, it doesn't have to do all that. But just, you could be in a theater group, working on the newspaper, doing a radio station work, anything that requires him to work with a group of people and outside of the classwork, so that he or she develops the ability to socialize, to interact, to understand, and also to sort of spread your wings a little bit in the leadership area. There might be opportunities for that to come up, and that's great that there are leadership opportunities that come the way of the student. So the parents should insist that, hey, this high school thing is great. You're doing your work. I like that. But, you got to do some other things too. You could be volunteering at the hospital. You could be doing something other than your algebra and advanced calc or whatever it is they're teaching kids now. But they need to develop that social web. And the only way they can do it is to do some of these extracurricular things. And so they should insist on doing it. I think the last point I would make in this is that parents should begin pretty early, maybe it's freshman year or sophomore year, to be candid with their children about finances. If it looks like, parents seem to place this bigger stress on going to college than kids do, I think. But if this is the case where the parent really is, you're going to go to state, or you're going to go home, you're going to do what daddy did, you're going to do what mommy did. If there's a pressure to do the college thing, then the kids ought to understand what the parents can afford, and what the dimensions of the financial dimensions are, or the financial burdens. Maybe they're surmountable, but they should be sensitive, very sensitive to that, and the parents among themselves need to be honest with themselves about what kind of pressure they're going to put on the kid based on their own desire to spend money. I mean, like, a parent got a choice. They can either buy a Chevy or buy a Mercedes. And if they buy that Mercedes, the kid's going to have to find some other way of getting the money to go to school. I mean, so the parents have to be fair and judicious as they spend, but also make the child aware of the financial burdens that are awaiting them, and the reality that it poses for the family. It shouldn't be in the dark. It should be open. That should be known. And the kid ought to learn it early, because then he or she can participate in solutions to solve that problem. So it's kind of long-winded, but I think it's essential. So, understanding the curriculum and being candid with the student, give them some space to do their work, and make sure that that their butts in that chair a certain amount of time. Insist that they be involved in extracurricular stuff, and particular things that they can flex their wings on a little bit, in leadership. And then fourth, having candid conversations with them about money, how much money they have, how much money they expect to have available for what that kid wants to do.
Jim, your comments are excellent and so helpful. You provide a segue for me to the topic of selecting a college and sort of what goes in, that whole dynamic. But I really do want to just pick up on that last point that you made with regard to college finances. Specifically, I know for a fact that a number, and I'll just read, I have a question here. A number of families are concerned about the cost of college and the prospect of their student accumulating substantial student loan debt. This is a topic that's in the media. It's talked about at kitchen tables around the country. You just touched on it at the end of your in your previous comment. Can you speak to this issue, the issue of going to college and the prospect of accumulating debt and the potential, the return on investment of taking out student loans to obtain your college degree? Just that whole topic. Any insight that you can share on this would be of tremendous value.
Yeah, I would sort of go at it from the return on investment standpoint. and then get into the debt just a bit. When a college graduate who has a successful college experience and goes out and gets a job, if you compare what he or she can earn on an annual basis as against what he or she could have done just coming out of high school. If you look at that, of course, that means that you could have had 4 years of earning, probably at a very low income rate. Maybe not, but I would sense that that would be truer than false. But if you look at the earning power of that college graduate, that over a 10-year period after college, and maybe even fewer years, maybe 7 to 10 years, that the premium that you will have earned as that college graduate over what you would have had and would have had to spend, you would pay back what that investment was, even if it weren't debt, if it was money that the family put into you. You could pay that back to them based on your income premium over what you would have made if you were just working in a high school graduate's job. And so I think that you need to keep that in your mind. The return on investment for going to college is reasonably substantial because you're going to work for 40 years. And if in 10 years after you graduate, you have earned back what you spent or earned back what you borrowed and paid it off, that you're still, you're in the black.
Yeah.
You're in the money. So taking on debt or emptying your parents' bank account is it's really not that catastrophic. What scares me is if you go to one of the schools, and now many of them are in this category, where they're charging $70,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, $70,000 a year, $300,000. Because it's going to 70,000 this year, it's going to be 75 next year, it's going to be 7, so
Mm-hmm.
it's $300,000. Now you're getting to the point where the payback is going to be a lot longer, and or the actual payments during that 10-year period of time are going to be so large that much of your life has to be deferred just to take care of that huge nut that you decided to bite on. So I think that at this point, one needs to go into the elegant work that you've done in your expanding college opportunity. This book, I don't know how many of folks. I'm serious about this. This book is excellent from the standpoint of seeing how debt fits in to the resources that one can marshal in order to pay for college. I think that's an excellent read, and people, ought to get it and get that book and read it because it makes an awful lot of sense. And with the key point being that there are resources there, and many of the colleges and universities now are so free with their grants that you don't necessarily have to look at that $70,000 figure as the figure that you have to meet. The figure might be as low as 35,000, which is still a huge amount of money, but nonetheless, it's not 70. And,
Right.
I think with the idea of the available grants, with scholarships, and with loans, you can climb, you can even climb Mount Everest. But I think your book describes that extremely well, and along with the resources necessary, the web internet resources necessary for parents to really get zeroed in on it. And they start looking at that stuff when the kids, freshman, sophomore, junior, look at it together, and take that knowledge with them. But back to my original point, yeah, it's big bucks, it's scary, but there are ways of overcoming it, and there are ways of making that number a lot smaller than what it appears at first.
Yes.
And with the embedded logic that the income premium that this child is going to make over what they would have made had they not gone to college is so significant that the surpluses that you accumulate over the next 10 years of your life are sufficient to pay it back.
Thank you for that feedback. And I should also just interject that I didn't know Jim was going to mention the book. I kind of forgot that I had sent it to you, but thank you for the compliment about the book.
I thought I bought it. I thought I bought that book. I don't know.
No, my friend. that was my gift. That was a gift to you, and it was really just for those of you that don't have the book. I include Jim in the book, and I include him in the book where I talk about people that had a huge influence on me, and that were role models for me, and just people that I love and care about. And Jim is one of those individuals, and I talked about him in the book. And so, having done that, I figured I would send him one, but I didn't know that he was going to pull it out today, and I just kind of completely forgot about it. But anyway, thank you for that thought.
Can I interject something right there?
Yes.
When I was at Amherst as the treasurer, I was in charge of financial aid also. I had a staff to actually do the work, but I was responsible for the financial aid budget and the financial aid strategies. And I had not seen a better description of the whole process as well explained as Stan does in his book. So you really should get it. It's excellent.
Thank you.
I speak as an insider on that point.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, what should a student seek in selecting the right college?
Well, first of all, the student should have some idea of what they're going to learn in school, what he or she wants to learn, and how they want to learn it. And so the question is, what's the best way of finding that out? And can I do it at a cost that I can afford? There's cost back in there. But finding the right college is the one that aligns itself in what it wants to do and how it teaches, and the storyline they put on you in all this marketing material that they share with you, that does that match the stuff does the stuff they're showing me, does that match with what I want to learn and how I want to learn it? And it's not a, a 15-second, oh, I look at this moment now. I mean, you got to look, you got to study it, get their material, work that website, work their admissions materials, work them. Those things are written by experts of camouflage. You, you, you need to find out,
Yeah.
do they have a core curriculum that their professoriate stands behind and wants to imbue you in? Or do they have a bunch of profs that are teaching all kinds of different subjects and it's a grab bag and you can come and pick and choose what you want? And as an 18, 19-year-old, you're supposed to know exactly what course is going to align with you. And when you're done, do you have what it is that you wanted to learn there at the school? Have you learned it in a way that in any way maximizes or optimizes the time you've spent and hopefully not wasted in going through their smorgasbord? So the right college is the one that aligns its educational strategy with what you want to learn in school. And it takes a lot of think work on your part. What do you have an image out there? Maybe this is the career I want, and but this is the stuff I need to know. And how are they going to teach it? Are you going to be taught by professors, or are you going to be taught by teaching assistants? You got to know that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know it for a couple of reasons. Now, I was a teaching assistant at Washington U, but my teaching assistantship was basically in grading papers and in working with students that were failing in specific courses to try to get them back up to where they could catch up to class.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't me standing in front of them, giving the lecture and doing that. That's Washington University happened to be a very fine deliverer of professors, associate professors, assistant professors, delivering those experts to the student. And that's so important because that's their career. Whereas a teaching assistant, which as I was, I mean, you're just focusing on getting your little batch of work done so you could get on with the other important stuff in your life, which was your own degree, so you may empathize as a teaching assistant to the students, but there's nothing you can do about it. You don't have the time to help them out, nor the expertise. So you have to ascertain, that element. Are the professors teaching, or are TAs teaching? Also, is the atmosphere, and assume the atmosphere that you wish in college differs from that which you had in high school, not in any way demeaning what you had in high school. But what you have in college is it's supposed to be at a higher intellectual level. And is the atmosphere at the institution that you're looking at and you think aligns with your learning goals? Is it in any way, is the atmosphere intellectual? Is it exploratory? Is it debate friendly? Is it discovery oriented? Um, or do they just assume that you are an empty vessel and we're going to pour all of our politically correct stuff into your brain and push you off into another class? And if you raise your voice against my position as professor, you're out of here. That goes on, by the way, a lot of places. Students are on the alert that they better not say anything that this guy or this woman doesn't like. I've got to be right in line with their philosophical, political views, or else, I'm screwed. I get a D in this course. Or they don't give Ds anymore. Maybe they just give Cs. I don't know. But the point is the atmosphere at that institution intellectual, and in that sense is Socratic, where there is dialogue between the professor and the student, and the professor draws out and learns from students as well as students learn from professors. And that's the beauty of Socrates. That's the essence of real learning.
Yes.
And so, you need to know that kind of stuff. You need to know also is the atmosphere transcultural, or is it polarizing,
Mm-hmm.
either racially or politically? You got to find that out, because if you show up on campus and you have blocks of people who don't want anything to do with you, or blocks of people who do not want anything to do with them,
Mm-hmm.
You may have a problem living with that. You want to know about the dorm situation. Are there black dorms? Are there ethnic dorms? Or maybe you don't care, but you should know whether they exist and why.
Mm-hmm.
Is the housing, is it co-ed or is it cohabitation?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want that? Whatever you want. Do you want that? Do your parents want that? Do your parents know that their daughter is going to live with a guy in a freshman year? Because the number came up in the lottery and that's the way it happened. They're going to be taking showers together. Doesn't even know this guy from Brooklyn. So, those are the kinds of things you need to know. You need to know them. You need to find that out, because you may have views on that, and you want to make sure that the environment that you're in is one that accommodates your views as well as other people's views. So those are a few of the things that that will help you determine that this is the right college or the wrong college.
It's very insightful. We are approaching the end of the hour.
Whoa.
Out on the hour, but this is so good, so rich, and I want to be respectful of your time, Jim, and the audience time. But let me ask you, can we go a little bit longer?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Just the wisdom knowledge is so good. Just a couple more questions here. Really quickly, if you had imagine yourself at a college as a college advisor, and you have a freshman that shows up on campus, that first year, you're that student's advisor. Very quickly, what are the 2 or 3 most important, or even the one bit of advice that you would give that student?
Well, the college advisors on different campuses have different responsibilities. So you want to, you certainly as a student and a parent, you want to know before the choice is made, what do the advisors do? What do they purport to do? And what don't they do? And the range is very, very broad. So you need to know what they perceive their role is. Ideally, it's to help students. It's to help students wind their way through the maze of college or university structure that they've got to deal with. So it's my first day as well. It's the first day that the kid's there, and he shows up at my office.
Yes.
I would tell him that I'm here to help you, and I'm here to have a good ear to what you're saying and what you're trying to say, what kind of help it is you seek, and I can provide you with some help. But any of the decisions that are made in this conversation, you're responsible for making those decisions and implementing them. And I will help you as best as I can in making those decisions. I'm going to help you understand what the academic program requirements are, but you're going to have to take responsibility for taking those courses, signing up for them. We think it fits in fine with the kind of major that you're talking about, but you've got to take the course, and I can help you as if you have any trouble along the way. I'm here to help you. That's my job. This is my telephone number. This is my office. Call me when you have issues, because I'm here and I want to help you. And there's a saying that one moment can change a day.
Mhm.
One day can change a life. And one life can change the world. I'm here to help you in that day and in the next day. And I hope it will help you as you make your life. But I'm here to help.
Understood. And then I guess from picking up from there, as that's the student's sort of first day on campus, then the student goes through their college years, whether it's for 2 years or 4 years or 6 years, and they're approaching the exit of college and beginning their professional career. So drawing upon your years in the professional world, what advice would you offer that graduating college senior, as he or she is about to embark upon the working world and start a career? What are sort of the pearls of wisdom that can help that student be successful throughout their professional life? That's a long-winded kind of that my question got a little bit long there, but hopefully the 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 core of it, or the essence of it, is a college senior is graduating, they're heading off into the working world. What's important? What should they keep in mind?
Well, they've got to keep in mind, what are your true interests? What do you like? what do you like? Does what you've taken in school match up now as it did when you came here, when I talked to you 3 years ago? Is it matching up? Is your interest still in that particular direction? What, where are your points of excellence? And are you happy that you have those? Are you pleased with those? Your strong points. What are the strong manifestations in what you've done? Do those things make you feel good? What kind of potential do you want to see in yourself 5 years from now? Where do you want to, where would you like to be in your career? Still be in the intern mode, or still now branching out and getting more into the the team leader position? Let's have a talk about that. And I think that for every phase that you are in your student decision making, you really should have in mind these things: the interest, what am I interested in, and what am I good at, and what do I really want to do? I mean, and you boil it down to the smaller elements, not necessarily, I want to be an astronaut. Maybe you want to be in the astrophysics business, but not necessarily an astronaut. I mean, it's so helping that student think through interest, what I'd like to do, things that I'd like to do, my personality. What is it? What is the feedback that I get on that? Those are the things that you need to be in touch with all along the way, and particularly at the point of launch. As you're looking towards the career. It's funny too, Stan. There are a couple of ways of an individual managing that freshman senior posture, and that is, you could, if there are people out there who are doing a job that you find attractive, and you say, that's really something that I'd like to do, and you talk to them. You get your parents to set up something, and you talk to them, and you find out that this person, and actually you do it with a couple of different people. This person went to school to be a physicist. This person went to school to be an engineer. Two different things. And yet they took the possibility is they took the exact same courses in college. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you find that out, and so that really helps you. It gives you the option as you go. And now you've got your major, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna have to go down this path. You could go down that path, and it would be satisfying to you. So that's one approach that every student should have that idea in mind, that is an approach to finding the way to structure what you're going to study in your sophomore, junior, senior year, mostly probably junior and senior year, because that's when your real electives come into play. So in other words, you go to the end point and work backwards. Or alternatively, you go to your professors that teach these courses and you ask them, what can I do with this down the road? They may be totally different from these other, what people are actually practicing out there. And what if you say, I want to study philosophy? What can I do? What can I do with it? Well, it's a very interesting discussion, but you might find uh, people out there that studied philosophy as a major, but as a minor, they had art history. And what they are doing, they're the curator for a museum. And they're making $250,000 a year, like, oh, philosophy major. Oh, wow. No.
Let's get some of that.
Yeah, I need some of that. But so there are two ways to go.
Yeah.
You go to practitioners and work your way back into how they prepared for it. And you may find a lot of intersection, which then, allows you as a student to, think in broad terms. Or in the time talking to your profs who have they're embedded in a certain way, and maybe, they have a preferred direction you should go. But in either case, you talk to somebody.
Sure.
And your advisor should be able to help you talk to the people you need to talk to. Or your parents can help you. But
Yes.
if you're serious about this thing, about your major and your career, if you're serious about it, and you're not just in school to get happy, you're there to learn, to prepare you for this journey, then that's what you do. And there are people out there who are willing to talk. They feel great about talking. I feel good about talking, A lot of people feel good about, and maybe a lot of it's talk, and maybe you just, you have to cut it by 50%, but at least you're getting inputs, and that's what you want.
Terrific. In 30 seconds, Jim, the floor is yours. Any closing thoughts? 30 seconds or less.
Oh, gosh. Well, you need good conversation with your parents all along the way. And because they're with you, they're on your side. They want to make sure that you do well in school. Second, find the right school. Don't go over your head, and throw yourself into a pool of students with whom you have to compete, and they're all smarter than you are, and they're all getting A's and B's, and you're getting C's and D's, and you got to show those C's and D's at graduation to some employer. Or you can't get into a grad school because unfortunately your grades are too low. So, you go to a school that you can excel in. And don't, throw yourself into an environment in which you cannot excel, because you're not going to be, talk about happy, then you're going to be unhappy. You're going to be unhappy if you're in an environment that you cannot succeed in or excel in. Other than that, it's a wonderful journey. College is a great direction to go. There are 2-year schools you can go to. A lot of people do it. A lot of people who do it get rich. And so keep your mind open. Talk to your parents. Keep them informed. Stan, that's all. I'm done.
my cup runneth over here. This has just been outstanding, and I want to, on behalf of thesecrettowriting.com, personally, I want to thank you for your time, for your words of true wisdom, and just sharing all this information. And I also want to thank you for being the person that you are, and our friendship, and being a mentor, and just a real asset to my life. So to both to you and your family, I say thank you.
Well, they all say thank you to you too, Stan, and they hope you're doing fine. They told me to say that, so I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. And to our audience, I want to thank you this evening for joining us. You've been patient. I know that we've gone a little over our time. We typically don't, but this has just been, I mean, how do you stop? This has just been so amazing talking to Jim Scott. So again, thank you very much. Please continue to check our website, thesecrettowriting.com. Please go to the Expanding College Opportunity Speaker Series page. There you will find upcoming speaking events, and as I hope you will consider purchasing both my book and student workbook. I am very happy to say that I have received positive feedback from both from individuals like Jim Scott and from college admissions officers from around the country as well. With that being said, I wish you all good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
And you take care.
All right, you too.
And say hi to the family.
All right. Will do.
Oh.